listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
I'm going to give you a list, and the list is movies I don't get, and there's one on there that probably deserves a second look. But most of them I have watched a few times, and I just don't get it. These are popular movies that people swear by, movies that have become franchises with sequels and merchandise, and they've achieved legendary status. But for some reason, these are movies I just don't get. And the first one's a doozy, because I know that people swear by this movie. And it gets a pass for a lot of people because it's a holiday movie. And holiday movies get a pass. Even mediocre holiday movies somehow become great movies because you watch them around the holidays and they get that holiday bump. You have all that emotion factored in. I was never a fan of Christmas Story growing up. I thought it was a good movie. But boy, it has achieved legendary status the last decade with it being played over and back to back. I'm not going to talk about Christmas Story. There's a whole episode of how great the movie is, and I found the nuggets in there that make it so great. But Halloween movies are no different than Christmas movies, and they get a pass. One that I enjoy is Nightmare Before Christmas, and that's the opposite. Because Nightmare Before Christmas came out and bombed. I saw Nightmare Before Christmas second weekend at the theater. I had to search to find the theater because nobody was playing it. Movies open big, and if they don't draw the numbers, they get dropped. And Nightmare got dropped quick. And Rachel and I had to find this really out-of-the-way theater. It was in Westminster. It's now the DMV of Westminster, and even that's closed. But I remember going to see it and wow, this movie is something special. And we tried to find all the merchandise and bought it the minute it came out, and then watched it slowly become this institution. There's another movie that has taken the same path, where it comes out in theaters, it bombs. Now, I'm talking about Hocus Pocus. And I know people swear by this movie, man. Hocus Pocus came out for some reason in the summer. It was not released at Halloween like it should have been. It wasn't even released in September, which would have been, at least closer to Halloween. It was released in the midst of summer, bombed big. I remember going to see it, and I didn't get it. I've watched it since, and I have tried to find why people like this movie. And I don't know. I can't figure it out. It's a mildly entertaining movie about these three witches who get resurrected on Halloween night and are trying to take over the world or something. And these kids foil their plans. It's a traditional Halloween kids create the trouble, kids get rid of the trouble, and everything is okay. But it keeps getting more popular. And it's getting more popular despite the fact that the three leads, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker, never signed merchandise deals. If you notice, if you go to Halloween Club, they have tons of Hocus Pocus merchandise, but none of it features their face. It's just the outline, because they didn't get likeness approval for any merchandise. So you sort of get lots of the zombie guy and the book and the cat, and but none of the witches except their outline, their costumes, their hair, but not their face, because they didn't sign for it. Now, there's going to be a sequel at some point. It's inevitable there's going to be a sequel, especially with Disney Plus, and the fact that Disney has figured out that they have a gold mine in their archives of movies that have gained these cult followings, and now that they have this platform, they don't have to release it to theaters. They don't have to put $200 million into the production, including marketing and theater placement and all the rigmarole that goes with that. They can put it on the streaming service, Disney Plus, Plus, and people will tune in, and it'll make a ton of dough because it'll bring in subscribers. And even if it brings in, a gazillion subscribers for 1 month, that's $6.99 times a gazillion makes a big profit, and that's why they're greenlighting all these high-profile streaming service projects, because it drives subscriptions. But I know people like my friend Jeff DePauli swears by this movie, loves this movie. And you know what? Anytime somebody likes a movie that I don't, I go, look, I'm happy for you. I wish I liked it the way you liked it, because I love movies in general. But I've watched Hocus Pocus a few times, and I just don't get it. It opens with children being killed, then the witches getting hanged. The witches come back, and the little boy who's been turned into a cat, eventually he's going to get to heaven, which means he's dead. It's a real morbid movie. I get the campy aspects of the three witches. They are chewing the scenery. I totally get it. There's nothing wrong with that. I admire out there on a limb performances, and that's what they're doing. Kathy Najimy was not a big star at the time. This was before King of the Hill, before projects that made her a thing. Sarah Jessica Parker had a pretty good career, and of course the whole movie is hanging on the career of Bette Midler, who is really good, and I just don't get why the movie's popular. It's not particularly good. It has a few fun scenes. Gary Marshall as the devil, and that's Penny Marshall. They're playing it up. It's directed by Kenny Ortega. It has a really weird scene, and it's the kind of scene that you could see Disney Plus quietly just removing. They took they put digital hair on Daryl Hannah so you didn't see her butt cheeks. I could see them removing. There's a scene where the entire population on the street, all these people on the street, make fun of this 15-year-old kid for being a virgin. Like, they're really mean about it. And it comes out of nowhere, because it's like, this is a kid's movie. They're kids. He's 15. Now, if the movie is telling me that by the age 15, I shouldn't be a virgin anymore, then they're laughing at me too, because at 15, it was not happening for me. It just wasn't happening for me. Heck, it wasn't happening for me years after that. So maybe I'm too personally involved in being ridiculed like that, like it's some badge of honor. Like, it's really weird. And even, like, if I remember it right, doesn't his sister, like, give him grief? Like, you're a virgin? Now, I contrast that with Monster Squad, which I think is the better movie, but does not have nearly the high profile of Hocus Pocus, which is a crime. But there's a scene at the end where they have to have a virgin recite the incantation to send the monsters into the portal, and the guy gets his sister, and she does the incantation perfectly, but nothing happens. And he's like, well, you're a virgin, right? And she's like, well, there was that one time. And then they have to get the little girl, Gabby Hoffman, to recite the incantation. And that's a real funny turn, and it's played for laughs, and it's played in a really funny way. The scene in Hocus Pocus is just mean. They're just mean to this kid because he's never been with a girl. Like, it's really strange. And it does... how do I put this? There are times when one scene can derail a whole movie. And that scene goes a long way to derailing the movie for me. Also, the scene where the kid journeys to heaven, like, that's really weird. He's a cat for hundreds of years, and now he's dead. But his sister, who died at the beginning of the movie, is waiting for him at the pearly gates. Very strange. It has campy parts. I know the I put a spell on you scene, and one of the witches, I think Kathy Najimy, is riding around on a vacuum cleaner. All of that's very funny. As I've said before, and the biggest example is Phantom Menace. You can have one or two really good elements or scenes or ideas in a movie, but it doesn't make the whole movie great. And I know some people are just yelling right now. They're like, how do you hate Hocus Pocus? I don't hate Hocus Pocus. I just don't get the big deal. I don't understand why it's become this big thing, when I think there are other Halloween movies that are more deserving of that. And I would put Monster Squad right there at the top. I showed it to my kids, and they said it was Goonies with swearing. But, they're older. I mean, they're not older. They were born later. So they don't understand going to the movie theater and discovering a movie like Monster Squad when it had no merchandise, no trading cards, no poster, no souvenir magazine. It's just a movie. And back then, for a movie with that many kids and monsters, that's a rare thing. Goonies had what I think a board game and a lunchbox. They wouldn't get merchandise till way later in the game. Still, for Monster Squad, no merch. And for Hocus Pocus, nothing of the witches with their faces. There's a lot of Beetlejuice merchandise where Winona Ryder's face is not visible because they didn't get likeness. And then there's some that have her face on it. So that one's a little gray. But it's very clear on Hocus Pocus that there's no licensing agreement for the witches, but it's not a movie I would put on like every Halloween. I don't get that much enjoyment out of it. It's certainly not as good as Nightmare Before Christmas, or It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or even Halloween 3. Movies that are distinctly about Halloween. And I love Halloween. I love the colors on the screen, the oranges. I love the trick-or-treat. I love when they show trick-or-treating in the movies, especially pausing it and seeing all the costumes. We did that last time we watched Hocus Pocus, and we did find a kid wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog costume, which for the year it came out, that's a pretty big deal, because that's early in the merchandising of video games, and especially with Halloween costumes, because they were quick to merchandise breakfast cereals and stuff like that. But a Halloween costume is like you've made it as a character, and to see a Sonic costume, that's pretty cool. I have to watch it again. I don't know if it's a store-bought costume or something that was made for the film. Maybe they had some weird subtle tie-in. Maybe a small check was written. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of Hocus Pocus. Sorry to upset anybody on that one. We'll continue to upset you. Happy Gilmore. I am not an Adam Sandler fan. I have tried to enjoy Adam Sandler movies. I have seen some of the different Adam Sandler movies. I really enjoyed Spanglish, but it's not because of him. It's because of Paz Vega, who was also in 10 Items or Less. But I am not a man. I don't understand Adam Sandler movies. And this one seems to be like the gold standard of Adam Sandler. I guess you could call Billy Madison, but I can't watch it. When he starts doing that voice, I'm Adam Sandler, I can't do it, man. And Happy Gilmore, to me, I know, first off, it's about golf. I can't stand golf. I don't want to go golfing. I don't want to watch movies about golfing, except Caddyshack. But I went to the theater and saw Tin Cup, and I was bored to tears because I don't know the rules of golf. You're not telling me the rules of golf. I'm not watching Legend of Bagger Vance. No. Caddyshack 2. You ever seen Caddyshack 2? But Happy Gilmore seems to be this ultra popular gold standard of golf movies. But when I think of this movie, and I've only seen it once, I don't think I could sit through it again. I can't. I've only seen Mr. Deeds once, and that's got Winona Ryder in it. So I'm just not an Adam Sandler fan. And there's a hilarious scene in Mr. Deeds where Winona Ryder's character falls through the ice on a lake, and she's about to die of hypothermia, but he won't pull her out until she admits he was right about something. It's hilarious how she almost dies. But in Happy Gilmore, apparently, if I had to get, I don't know why this movie's popular, because when I watched it one time, singular, it seemed to me to be a movie about a guy who is friendly and then full of rage. He is either happy and talking to you in that baby voice, or he is beating you senselessly. And that's not anyone I want to hang out with, either in real life or in the cinema. And I know that he's made gazillions of dollars. playing that character. So it is working for him, and God bless him for making that work. He also, Adam Sandler has a clause in his contract that he has to pick where the movies get made. So even if the location has nothing to do with the plot, he only makes movies that correspond with vacations he wants to take. 50 First Dates is in Hawaii. Blended is in Africa. Like he figures out a way to get a vacation. I have no explanation for Pixels, and I've seen that. Oh my God, I watched Pixels because I thought, well, even if it's bad, it'll have all these video game references that I enjoy. And I'll tell you what, references do not make a movie. They just don't. You have to have something to hang your hat on more than just, I recognize that. Working on the hanging at Knott's, they were always very clear, that it can't just be references. There has to be some meat to it. And when Ken taught me how to write like that, it opened my eyes up to like watching films and TV shows. Like, oh, it has to have something to hang its hat on. One Crazy Summer is a really funny movie about a guy trying to get over a girl, but it's also about boating. There's always this extra thing, and that's what you hang your hat on. That's what makes the movie good. It's the same plot as Summer Rental, if you've ever seen that. Summer Rental and One Crazy Summer are basically almost the same movie, except the tone is a little different. But you can't just have references. If the movie is just references, then it's that series of movies. Remember that epic movie, disaster movie, date movie? Remember all those horrible, horrible movies? Those were just references. I remember watching, I think it was Epic Movie. Whichever had, there's one of them that has Carmen Electra in it. And at the time, it's easy to watch Carmen Electra. And I remember watching it going, there's literally no plot to this movie. It's a series of disconnected sequences strung together. And you could make that same claim for The Hanging, but we always tried to put in a plot to hang your hat on, to hang the references on, so it's not just references. But boy, Happy Gilmore is just a guy full of rage who golfs. What's the big line of the movie? The price is wrong, bitch. And then he beats up Bob Barker, which, is funny because, he's beating up Bob Barker. And that's funny because Bob Barker's a guy you don't beat up, I guess. But I don't get it, man. I could also put in the same exact category. And, I made a little tiny Post-it note with these titles on it. And one that I'm going to stick in right next to Happy Gilmore is There's Something About Mary. Boy, people love that movie. I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I do not get the joke, man. And I like the Farrelly brothers. I think Kingpin is really good. I think Dumb and Dumber is brilliant. I think that Me, Myself, and Irene was pretty good. But man, There's Something About Mary, and that was like their breakout mega hit. I don't get it. All the violence against that dog, and Ben Stiller getting his schnitz caught in his zipper, and like it goes on, and just when you think like you're done, like it keeps going on, and then she's got sperm in her hair, and then the dog's in a cast, and the woman's tan, and they're licking each other. I can only take so much grossness in a movie before I'm just not interested anymore. And I just can't do it. And Something About Mary, even though it's sweet and cute, and Cameron Diaz, this is the movie that made her a big mega star. Oh my God. Here's the thing. I own a lot of movies that maybe I don't even like, but I picked up somewhere. Like, I have Hocus Pocus. I do not have Happy Gilmore. But I don't have Happy Gilmore or There's Something About Mary. I haven't even bought There's Something About Mary on accident. And there are some movies that are not very good that I have like 4 copies because I'll see it somewhere at a thrift store and I'll go, oh, I should pick this up. Like, I just did that. I just bought Waterworld. Like, I need Waterworld. It's not as bad as you think. I'm going to buy Waterworld. And I get home and I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 other copies of Waterworld. How many times am I out and about and buy Waterworld? I have to stop. Now, not the Blu-ray. I'd love to have that Waterworld Blu-ray with the original, I think it's original ending and additional footage. There's a lot of extras, but it's really rare and really expensive. And I say expensive because when I buy these DVDs at Savers with the coupon, they're $2.50. When you look up Waterworld Blu-ray, it's like $40 or $50, and I can't pay that. I can't. Nobody's got time for that one. But I keep buying Waterworld, but I've never bought There's Something About Mary or Happy Gilmore. Now the next one I did buy because Rachel was not a big fan of this, a mega fan of this. So I watched it with her. I watched Twilight with her because I'll watch any movie. I don't have any biases against movies. If I watch it and it's terrible, I just won't watch it again. But there are some movies I've just watched. I've seen a bunch of Adam Sandler movies. I've seen The Cobbler. I've seen, like I said, Spanglish. And, something else, I'm sure. He's been in a lot of movies. But man, I watched Twilight once with Rachel. And, because, Twilight was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you could not escape Twilight. It was so massively popular. And it just, Stephanie Meyer, who wrote it, just released a new book last week that is like a different take on it, and it sold 1 million copies in a week. So even though every time you go to a thrift shop, they have usually a full set of Twilight books or multiple sets, not just 1 or 2 copies of Twilight, but Breaking Dawn and New Moon, they have them all because people just jettison them. Enough people still like that series that they buy it a lot. They will buy anything that woman puts out. So we bought Twilight. Now, Rachel saw it 2 or 3 times in the theater. She even saw it once where the director gave a Q&A afterwards. And the guy who plays the boat, the guy who gets murdered in a boat, he was there, the security guard. But I watched this with her, and I am bewildered. Because, you watch, because I remember seeing Titanic and going, well, I get it. I get why Titanic is so massively popular. Titanic is a fantastically made movie. Whether you liked Leonardo DiCaprio at the time or not, you cannot deny that Cameron put everything on the screen. I have not done an episode of Titanic. I could, because I even went and saw Titanic in 3D, and I still say it was the best 3D presentation I've ever seen. Even though the movie wasn't meant to be shot in 3D, it was a 3D after effect, but it was still, because Cameron supervised it, was astounding. So you go to see these movies to see what's the hype about, and boy, Twilight might be the dumbest, most popular movie I've ever seen. It's about a girl with no emotion or personality who gets hit on by a guy who's 100 years older than she is, and she agrees to go out with him because he's got a lot of money. And then she finds out he's a vampire. And not only is he a vampire, but he plays baseball. So she plays baseball with the vampires. I'm not kidding. So she plays baseball with the vampires, and then the bad vampires, who are not vegan, show up and want to eat her blood. So they have to hide her. And then the vampires come looking for her to eat her, and then the good vampire saves the day, and then they fall in love. It is the most ridiculous movie I have ever seen. Oh, and when the sun comes out, he sparkles. Yeah. Vampires don't go out in the daylight. That's the first rule of Vampire Club, other than not talking about Vampire Club, is you do not go out in the sunlight. But apparently, Stephanie Meyer's vampires do, and when they go out, they sparkle. And in the movie, it's not even a good effect. It looks like Sybil Shepherd in Moonlighting. You ever watch Moonlighting? And when they would cut to Sybil Shepherd, they had a softening lens on her. So you would see Bruce Willis in crystal clarity, and then in a two-shot, in a reverse shot, you'd see Sybil Shepherd, Maddie Hayes. No, it's David Hayes and Maddie. Can't remember her name, but Sybil Shepherd was always shot with a softening lens, so it looked like you had been crying, and that's what the vampires look like. Like you're crying, but like you were wearing glitter eye powder, and now you're crying, and the glitter is sliding off your face over your eyes. That's how the vampires sparkle in Twilight. It's the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen. When the bad guys show up at the baseball game, and when they play baseball, they can only play baseball when it's a thunderstorm, because every time they hit the ball, it makes a crack like thunder. Not kidding. Then the bad vampires show up, and they're on some like moving walkway. You ever gone on that moving walkway between Excalibur and Luxor, and you just stand there like Tyler Durden and glide? They just sort of glide up, and the one guy, like, he can smell Bella's blood, and he goes, "Looks like you brought us a snack." And it comes off like a Scooby-Doo villain. And then Bella breaks her leg, and they go to the prom, and they are in love, and eventually she will have Edward's baby, because in Stephenie Meyer's world, vampires can have babies. You know, I got my vampire rules from the top, and that's George Hamilton in Love at First Bite. And it takes 3 bites of a vampire to turn you from a mortal to a vampire. So you can get bit twice and be fine, but on the 3rd bite, you become immortal, you become a vampire. That's how it works. In Twilight, you just decide you want kids. And apparently, he's able to deliver what's necessary to make a baby. And in the context of the Twilight story, there's also these werewolf guys that only wear shorts because they're always warm, and they can fall in love with anybody, and they know, like, for certain that it's going to be true love. So Jacob thinks he's in love with Bella, but it turns out he's in love with her baby. Like, when he met Bella, he could smell love on her, but what he was smelling was the idea that eventually she's going to have children, and that he would get that child to love. I am not kidding. This is the story. And I never got to the end, because they made 4 movies out of 3 books. They turned Breaking Dawn into 2 movies. They started that stupid trend of taking the last book in a series and stretching it out. Like Mockingjay was made into 2 movies, and they're like, it's 4 hours of nothing. New Moon was made into 2 movies. It's so boring, because they're just treading water till they get to the second half of the book. Blah blah blah. But in that one, she finally has the baby, and Edward has to bite the umbilical cord off, and then the baby grows up really quick, like the Star Child on V, and falls in love with the Jacob werewolf guy. I had to live this for years. Rachel was so into this, man. She went to events. They wore costumes. She had a collection of Twilight stuff. Twilight. There was even, like, you can Google this. This is a true story. There was even a Burger King Twilight fast food promotion, but it wasn't for kids. It was for older women. They had like bracelets and water bottles of the Cullen Crest, and like I remember we go and eat Burger King, and she'd get like a Twilight a Twilight older meal. I don't know what it was called. But, Twilight was a big part of our lives, and I'm not faulting her for it. Like, it made her happy, so it makes me happy. But as far as the film goes, I didn't get any of it. I got as far as New Moon. And that was all because New Moon's terrible. Because that's where Taylor Lautner really becomes Jacob, and he's all, buffed up. And have you ever seen New Moon? The plot of New Moon is that remember Three's Company? Every plot of Three's Company is somebody is fixing a sink, or they overhear something, like through the pipes or through a doorway, and they think that Chrissy is pregnant because Chrissy's talking about a bun in the oven, but she's really talking about, she's talking to Jack about literally putting buns in the oven, not a bun in the oven like she's pregnant. So the plot of New Moon is Edward goes to Italy, and when he calls Bella to see how she's doing, he mistakes that she's killed herself. Like, he thinks she's killed herself, so he doesn't make a second call. Like, he just, Bella's killed herself, so now I'm going to walk out into the town square and take off my robe and let the world see that I sparkle, and that's against the vampire code. Like, I don't know what's happened. All they have to do is make a phone call. Hey, I'm alive. Oh, you're alive. Oh, I won't do that. And then it's over with. But they don't do that. They have all these contrivances that keep them from just calling each other on the phone. This is pre-social media. Because imagine in social media, he would just check her Facebook. Oh, you're posting, so you're not dead. No, I'm not dead. Marked safe from Edward's idea that I'm dead. But there's a scene where Bella's riding like a motorcycle, and she sees Edward in the mist. So she keeps riding through these images of Edward. Oh my God, it's numbing. It's mind numbing. But when she gets to Italy, and she Bella travels to Italy to stop Edward from taking his robe off and sparkling. I'm not kidding. And when she gets there, they whisk her underground to where the Volturi, which are the vampire high council, are meeting, because they're gonna ban Edward, or they're gonna kill him. They're gonna do something to Edward that's not pleasant, and she has to meet with them. And she goes all these levels underground to meet with them. And it's what's the guy's name? It's not Martin Freeman. It's the other guy. He's in a lot of movies. He was Castor in Tron, but he's chewing the scenery in it. And when she meets the High Council, it's him and it's Peter Murphy. Obviously, that's a great cast choice. But you can see light streaming into the room. And I just turned to Rachel and I said, I thought they were underground. Well, they are. Well, there's a skylight. And they're vampires. They can't have a skylight. So, I get that. In order to enjoy these movies, you have to forget everything you know cinematically about vampires. Everything that Bram Stoker put in the book and extrapolated from Vlad the Impaler, all of that goes out the window. Because this is it's vampire in name only, so they're Vinos. They're vampire in name only, because they're not vampires. And that's where the movie lost me. And it lost me also with Kristen Stewart, who looks like she is about to fall asleep in every scene. And Robert Pattinson's doing his best, but you can only act as well as the person who's giving you the feedback, and there's nothing there. She is a blank slate in every scene. She looks like she's bored. And that continued through all 4 movies. Every press junket, she looked bored to tears. And that translates, and it brings the whole movie down. And even if I was a mega fan I wouldn't have liked this movie, because I can give you another example. I loved the Golden Compass books. I think they're stellar. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman are fantastic books. That being said, that first movie is unwatchable, and I have tried. I saw it in the theater. I bought it on disc. I've given it multiple tries, and it's not the book. And I have not seen the new HBO version. But I really, they did a stage version of his Dark Materials with Timothy Dalton. They staged that in Europe. I wish I could have seen that. I don't think anybody even recorded it. But I'll dig around. Maybe it exists somewhere. Let's move on to our next movie I don't understand. Now, it's one thing to not like a one-off. It's one movie. Hocus Pocus is one movie. Happy Gilmore is one movie. But this one, how many Fast and the Furious movies are there? 10? 11? Including, the Calvin and Hobbes spinoff. I know it's Hobbs and Shaw. Calvin and Hobbes spinoff. But I've seen a bunch of these because I'm a movie junkie. I love going to the movies. And there have been times pre-summer when these things come out where there's been nothing to go see at the movies. So I'll go see Fast and the Furious. I will, what do they say? Turn my brain off while I watch it. Even that's not good enough. People who have had lobotomies still turn to the person next to them and go, I don't understand this movie. Why is this a thing? The first one's not bad. The first one was a straight movie in the vein of Point Break, where it's an undercover cop. He's trying to crack the case by joining this automobile gang, Paul Walker, and there's Vin Diesel, Dominic family, and he jumps a train or something. But me, Austin, and Luna, I went to get tacos the other day, and one of the Fast and Furious movies was playing on the TV in the restaurant, and I don't know which one it is because I have no clue. But they were driving their car from building to building. I think the car fell out of the sky somehow, and it went in a building, and he drove through the building like a skyscraper, and out the other side of the building to another building, and I just wonder, when they're making this, do they just look at each other and go, what are we doing? It's a living, I guess, right? Or are they even there? These movies are 90% CGI. There's nothing, they're not really driving the cars through buildings. It's all fake. And then, this franchise is so big, it even has an attraction at Universal Studios. Don't call it a ride, because it's not a ride. Even though all the commercials make it look like you are stepping onto a ride vehicle, it's part of the tour. And you end up in a warehouse with Pepper's ghost and then screens, and it's so unbelievably stupid. I cannot believe how stupid it is. I've been on it 3 times, and each time I am bewildered that this was put into production. It's not a ride. It's not even a very good attraction. It is so fake looking. You expect Wile E. Coyote to zoom by on a rocket. It looks so fake. And it has these actors on obviously fake vehicles shot on, it's not even shot on a green screen. It's just, they just said stand there. And everything is animated around them. The the Fast and the Furious attraction looks like one of those things that they used to do at the mall. Remember where you would put a green sheet? You would take your kids and put them on a green sheet, and for $5 or $15, you could go home with a VHS tape of them on Aladdin's carpet. Do you ever remember doing this at the mall? It was a little booth where the 2 kids would sit on the carpet, the green screen carpet. And the guy would go, okay, look this way. Okay, now wave over here. Oh, now look surprised over here. And then you get a videotape, take it home, and it's their kids like flying on Aladdin's carpet. That's what the Fast and the Furious attraction looks like. It looks like somebody is telling Vin Diesel, look this way. Now look this way. Now there's an explosion. And because of the way attractions are created now, you can't just, you can't just enter the building and go on an attraction. Do you remember, the only thing you can compare it to, like, do you remember the speed tunnel at Disneyland on the People Mover? You would go on the People Mover, and for 99% of the attraction, it was a smooth ride over Tomorrowland, way out to the far reaches of Tomorrowland and back, through Space Mountain, through America Sings, over the Autopia, and then back to the station. But there was a spot, this is all pre-Star Tours and everything, but there was a spot where you would enter the speed tunnel, where you'd go in, and it was a film on all around you of dune buggies and motorcycles, and then a fan blowing on you, and it would go wow 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 meow. And I remember riding as a kid going, wow, look at this. And then they added Tron, so you were in the world. Welcome, user, to the world of Tron. But here's the thing, I love that attraction because it was cheesy. It wasn't trying to be anything other than what it was. And the preamble to it was the music would stop. You know, the music would stop or fade out. You'd hear, greetings program, greetings user, prepare to enter the world of Tron and the game grid. That's it. And then you enter and you're in the attraction. This Fast and the Furious attraction requires like 6 people talking. You're entering a chop shop, and it's hot, and the authorities are coming, and the bad guys are coming, and we got to get you. And there's a party. There's a party going on, and there's hot chicks, and you can see their Pepper's Ghost butts in the attraction. It's the weirdest use of Pepper's Ghost ever because it's scantily clad women. And then they're like, you got to go, hurry to the next garage, and then we're going to tear out of here. And it's like 15 minutes of plot for 4 minutes of ride. And nobody in the tour tram even cares. All they care about is make things go fast, you know. At least with King Kong, it's like, enter Kong, boom, we're in the world of Kong. You know, nobody comes. Imagine if you entered Kong, and some guy's like, all right, welcome. We are deep in the jungle, and King Kong is about to, we're going to meet Kong now. Like, no, just Kong is here, and he's throwing things and fighting a dinosaur. But that Fast and Furious, man. Again, these movies have made billions of dollars. So, if you like them, rock and roll. Nothing wrong with liking them. These people have made a cottage industry out of this. But you have to ask, when they're writing in quotes, when they're assembling these movies, like they must just laugh at how silly the whole affair is. You know, it's all about family and family this and family, and then racing cars. And that's not even counting the fact that the second one, Tokyo Drift, is a completely different story. Like I think they were shocked when Tokyo Drift came out and made as much money as it had. And they're like, wait a minute. Maybe we got something here. Because Fast and Furious was never meant to be a franchise. Never. And now it's on, 10 movies with 3 or 4 in production. But it's one of those movies I just don't get. Hey, I'm going to cut it there because I'm losing my voice. But I have a whole stack more on this list because I didn't realize I'd talk so long about these movies. I have more movies I don't get. I will do a part 2. I will save this list and I will do a part 2 because some of the movies on here will piss you off because they're popular movies that I don't understand why they're popular. I mean, I get why they're popular, but they're movies I just don't care for. But it's easier to say, I don't get it. I don't get it. Hey, if you liked last week's episode, I want to give a big thanks to Stan. He's a great guy. He's been trying to get all his friends, and he has thousands of people that he knows because he's been working in the industry forever to listen to the show. So thanks for tuning in. Stan's a great dude. That was a great episode. I cannot wait to sit down and talk to him again because he's a great guy, and he had a lot of stories to tell, and we just scratched the surface. But thanks to Stan for last week's episode. It was really great. Thanks to you for tuning in. I am Jeff. I am the guy losing his voice. I don't get it, but you will get it on the next episode of 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
Sorry about your barn.